Hello, Devda's family. Wish you are all doing great, inshallah. Welcome back into a new problem and let's solve it. So let's just start. And here is another problem in Leetcode. And the problem is you have a long flower bed in which some of the plots are planted and some aren't. However, flowers can't be planted in adjacent plots. Given an integer array flower bed containing zeros and ones, where 0 means empty and 1 means not empty, and an integer n. Return, so you have integer n and this array of 0 and 1. Return true if n new flowers, the number of new flowers, can be planted in the flower bed without violating the no adjacent flowers rule, and false otherwise. Okay, example, we have input flower bed as a list of array of 0 and 1, and we have number of flower we want to plant, or the new flower to be planted is n, and it's equal true. Why? If I just come here and say, okay, this plot has a flower and this doesn't have one, and this doesn't have one, and this doesn't have one, so I can use this plot to flower the new flower I want to plant it, right? And here at the left and at the right will be empty plots, so I still can flower my I still can plant my new flower, and at the same time we still have empty plots at its right and its left. And the second one, so we can turn it true because it's true. I can plant a flower, and at the right and left of this new plant, there is nothing in the right and the left. There is no other flowers, and this is the rule. The second one, you have an array, and this array has here, this plot has a flower, and this plot has a flower, but these three plots doesn't have any flowers. And we want to plant two other flowers, but we want to plant them, and we consider that rule of saying there is no two adjacent plots, both of them has flowers. So can we do that here? Here it's no, because we can just plant one flower in this area, but two, because it will has in its right and its left there is no flowers, but we can't plant the second one. So here we will return false. So to recap, the problem is you will have a list. This list have 0 and 1 plot. The 0 plot, which means there is no flower planting in this plot, and 1 means there is a flower in this plot. And you have a rule, and this rule is saying you can't plant two flowers next to each other. Okay. And it will give you a number of new flower to planting or to plant. So if you can plant it and its right and left has nothing, okay, return it true. If you plant it and its right and left has another flower, so return false. Okay, and this is our code. Before the code, let's just try to imagine what we can do, or imagine how the steps, or write the steps to solve it. Okay, instead of random, okay, so the first one that we have 1 0 0 0 1. Okay, now I have just one flower. I want to plant one flower. Okay, so the first step, I need to access over this array, right? I want to access the array to check every plant inside this array, or every plot inside this array. So the first step for us, just a looping over the array, right? Second step, and now I will loop over the array, and I will check. How I can check for like planting a flower and its right and its left doesn't have anything. I will come to the first number and I will check, is this number is equal to 0? And its right hand is equal to 0 and left hand is equal to 0. Why? Because if this plot is equal to 0, that means the plot itself is empty. And if its right hand of this plot is equal to 0, that means its right hand is empty. And left hand is equal to 0, it means it's so if if the plot itself is equal 0, that means it's empty. If its right is equal to 0, that means the next plot is empty. If its left is equal to 0, that means the previous plot is empty. So, like for example, if I have empty plot here and empty plot here and empty one here, that means if I bend this, this one will not have a flower and this one won't have a flower too. So I can plant my flower, and at the same time I want to break the rule, because the rule says that you shouldn't have two next adjacent plot together has a flower. So for me, I have to check three stuff. The first thing, check if the plot itself is empty, and the plot on the right is empty too, and the plot in the left is empty. I will check both three of them. Okay, if it's equal true, what does that mean? That means I can plant my flower. So that means the first thing, I reduce the number of n. Why? Because I already will plant my flower right now. So the number of new flower have to be decreased. So I will decrease the n and plant the flower. That means I will give it the value 1, not 0. And then I will check something else. Okay, then I will check if the n is 0. Why? Because if n is 0 now, so I plant my new flower and I didn't break the rule and everything is okay right now, so I will return it true. Okay, so if my n is 0, so I planted the new flower and I didn't break the rule and I returned 0. Okay, but what if n is not 0? So I will repeat the same steps again. If I couldn't find any plot empty and its right and left hand is empty, it will return false. So I will say return false if this in cases is not the true one. Okay, but something else, before we start our looping, I have to check something. I have to check if n is equal to 0 from the beginning. If I don't have any new flowers to plant, so I have to return 0. It's just one case I have to check. It's just one case I have to check. So if n equal to 0 from the beginning, I just will return true. Okay, so let's check the code. The first thing, it's the first case which I said if I don't have any new flower to plant, I directly return it true because it's already everything is true. Okay, then I just get the length of my array or of the array. Here I start looping over my array. The first thing I checked if the position I'm in now is equal to 0 and I minus 1, that means that the previous position is equal to 0, and not or, and I plus 1, the next position is equal to 0, as we said. If yes, if all of them is equal to 0, so reduce the number of new flower to plant, and the position I'm writing right now, increase it with 1, or make it equal 1 instead of 0. That means I already plant the flower. And at the end of the loop, if n equal to 0, so return true. But if it's not equal to 0, I just will return false. And that is the code, and let's run it again. Okay, the first case, n equal to 1, and flower, this is the inputs, n equal to 1, and this is the array, and output is true, and the expected thing is true. And in case 2, n equal to output is false and expected false, because we will break the rule if we planted both of them, so we can't plant all of a given number of flowers. And that's it for now. Thank you.